We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal.
Did they?
That's what I was going to say.
Did they detain a cannibal? Because I know for a fact that what she said about the Trump administration and ICE specifically targeting rapists and criminals and really dangerous people is untrue. And I'm going to show you the receipts in just a moment. But did they detain a cannibal? I don't know. Why don't we hear more of what she has to say?
President Trump is upholding freedom by what he is doing. The freedom to live safely in this country and to do things legally and to have justice. And because those liberals, and I'm calling out you, CNN, I'm calling you out because you lie every single day about what these operations are. We are going after murderers and rapists and traffickers and drug dealers and getting them off the streets and getting them out of this country because Joe Biden let the worst of the worst come in here. The other day I was talking to some marshals that have been partnering with ICE. They said that they had detained a cannibal and put him on a plane to take him home. And while they had him in his seat, he started to eat himself. And they had to get him off and get him medical attention. These are the kind of deranged individuals that are on our streets in America that we're trying to target and get out of our country because they are so deranged they don't belong here.
He was eating himself, huh? Okay.
That's hell of a feat. Okay, how was he eating himself?
Okay, all right. So I don't believe her. What I do believe though is that this mad dash to detain and deport as many people as possible because Trump wants to engage in this like make-believe competition with the deporter in chief, Obama, is pathetic, and innocent people are getting caught up in this as a result. So I want to just quickly mention that there was an American citizen in Los Angeles who was detained by ICE, and the family is looking for answers. This is from CBS News. The family members of a US citizen who was taken into custody by federal agents in downtown Los Angeles on Tuesday are demanding answers as she was detained while on her way to work. She wasn't part of a protest, she wasn't doing anything wrong. Homegirl's on her way to work, American citizen, she gets snatched up by ICE. Andrea Velez, a Cal Poly Pomona grad working in merchandising at a shoe company, had just been dropped off by her mother and sister for the workday when they saw her being taken into custody, adding they had barely even driven a block before the arrest began. And that's just one example, okay? I don't believe anything coming out of this administration when it comes to their detention and deportation of undocumented people. Because again, it's so clear to me that everything they're doing is ham-handed. They don't care about due process. They're snatching up all sorts of people who haven't even done anything wrong.
Yeah, so I want to talk about how this affects businesses in a second too. But I mean, look, there's serious and lighthearted stuff here. The serious stuff, to get that out of the way for a second, is when you snatch up Latinos and Latinas or anyone else that are American citizens because your racist ass thinks, oh, they must be undocumented. It's impossible for all of the rest of us to not say F you.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, so because like all these guys, oh my God, identity politics is so bad, and they're trying to put people above white people, etc. They get in power, they're like, oh, just grab all the Latinos and we'll figure them out later. No. So that's identity politics on steroids. On
steroids, definitely.
Right,
yep.
as bad as it gets. Well, I mean, I can't imagine anything worse in terms of identity politics. Okay, so and cruelty is kind of the point here, and that's why they love bragging about it. And think about it, guys. Why is Kristi Noem the head of Homeland Security?
Because she's attractive.
Well, that's part of it.
Honestly.
Yeah, and she wanted to run for president. She's a rising star. Blah blah blah. But also because she shot a dog in a gravel pit. So the message is that's how mean we are. And the radical right loves that. They're like, yes, she's willing to shoot innocent dogs and puppies, right?
I don't know if that's
so. I don't even know if the radical right likes that. That's so mental that I'm not even sure the radical right likes that, right?
Everyone loves dogs.
But Stephen Miller.
Oh, Stephen Miller is subhuman, so I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, like, so there's some folks, but they picked her. I think not despite that, but partly because of that, to say we have no bounds, okay? And so here she is. So now back to the lighter stuff. The no bounds also applies to facts and truth and logic and all those things. You found
No, Cenk. The Department of Homeland Security could not immediately provide corroborating details of any case to match Noem's story because it was made up.
Of course,
it was made up. Okay, and you know what else is made up? This idea that everyone who's being detained, or most people who are being detained and deported, are dangerous criminals, okay? So let's go back to the data, which we've shared with you before, but we'll share it again. As of June 14th, ICE had booked into detention 204,297 individuals. This is since October 1st of 2024, the start of the fiscal year 2025. Of those bookings, 65% or 133,687 individuals had no criminal convictions. Moreover, more than 93% of ICE bookings were never convicted of any violent offenses. About 9 in 10 had no convictions for violent or property offenses. So look, you might be in the camp of, I don't care if they've committed 0 violent crimes. They're here, they're undocumented, I want them out. I mean, I disagree with you, and honestly, if you were to get every single undocumented person out of the country, our country would literally collapse. Our economy would collapse, it would be a complete and utter disaster. I don't think people are fully aware of what they're asking for if they are in that camp. The other thing is, honestly, I do believe that America is the greatest country. I love this country, and you wanna know what I love about this country? The fact that it's a place where people from all over the world come together and they're proud to be Americans. Okay, they're proud to be part of this country. That's what makes this country so unique and so great. And this like obsession with like, oh no, what's the racial makeup? And we gotta make sure that there's more whites than any other. It's so utterly lame. Are we Americans? Are we ever going to move toward having a shared identity as Americans?
Yeah, it's called the United States of America, right? So if you wanted just white people, there's actually some countries that are largely white, but that's not America. America's always had Latinos, America's always had African Americans, obviously from early, well before the formation of the country. Technically, we've always had Asians in the country because we're United States of America, right? And we're the ones who came up with the idea, I mean, roughly speaking, and we were before the French Revolution, of equality. That no matter what race or religion you are, you're equal here. But that's the beauty of America. That's not the downside of America, that's the upside of America. So look, back to the crime issue. So natural born citizens actually commit crimes at twice the rate of undocumented immigrants.
Okay, so, I gotta.
Okay, all right, you're gonna clarify that, okay.
No, I just, that data is skewed and I care a lot about being accurate, okay?
Okay.
We don't know, and the reason why we don't know is because in sanctuary cities and states, they literally do not ask about immigration status when someone commits a crime, is convicted of a crime, and spends time in prison.
So I don't know whether the data took, like first of all, those are just cities, okay? They have a significant amount of people, but we're talking about 330 million people in the country. Second of all, I don't know if they got classified as natural born citizens or undocumented or neither, right?
I know.
And if they're classified as neither, it actually doesn't affect the data that much. Do you see what I'm saying? So okay, but either way, so in let's say it's not that more citizens aren't twice as criminal. They commit 125% more crime, or 50% more crime, or 25% more crime, or maybe it's even. Okay, but there's no data at all saying undocumented immigrants create more crime. And again, there's logic to it because if you're here, you don't want to get caught. Right? And so, okay, my point is, if you demagogued about natural born citizens, look at how absurd it would sound. Natural born citizens, people that were born in America commit more crime. We gotta get rid of those criminals and rapists. We have to kick them all out and only have naturalized citizens. You'd be like, what is this guy, a lunatic? Yes, some small percentage of natural born citizens commit crime and some small percentage are rapists. But we're gonna judge all of them based on that? That makes no sense at all. The same is true of undocumented immigrants.
Right.
A very small percentage commit crimes. Don't defend those guys, punish them and then kick them out of the country. The rest of them are not like that at all. You know why? Because they're human, okay? I know, shocking. So look, I mentioned the business interest real quick on that. they're busting into these workplaces, right? Restaurants and construction places, etc. And when they're doing that, they're massively disturbing first of all, not only good, hardworking people that were there, okay, but also the business owners and also the community, right? And it's starting to be a little bit like COVID. They're going and shutting down businesses one by one, and then people are afraid to go back into those businesses.
Yep.
So they're worried like, hey, I'm an American citizen, but I'm of Mexican heritage, or I'm from El Salvador originally, or my family is,
That's right, yeah.
So can I go back to that restaurant, or are they gonna pick me up accidentally like they do from time to time, and then not give me rights? The next thing you know, I'm deported. What the? So then those businesses are terribly hurt, and it's shutting them down all across the country.
Okay, but let me just also mention one other thing. I think it's fascinating that they're targeting individuals that ICE believes are undocumented. There was a lot of tough talk about business owners suffering consequences for employing undocumented people. They're not being arrested.
Oh no,
they're not suffering any consequences.
Of course not. In fact, Trump let one guy go.
Yep.
He was charged of hiring a lot of immigrants, but he also did massive financial fraud. He had a 27-year sentence.
So Trump felt bad for him?
Trump's like, oh, there, but for the grace of God go I.
Totally.
So he just gave him a pardon. For like, what? Okay. So he's like, and if you remember why, Donald Trump hired undocumented immigrants. So if you were gonna arrest employers, you'd go and arrest Trump and he'd be like, lawfare, lawfare. No, it's your guys. You're the one who hired undocumented immigrants at almost every construction job that you did in New York, at your golf course until just a couple of years ago, right? And so that's why it's absurd. Okay, last thing, back to fun stuff. So Noem says that she saw a man eating himself.
Right.
Probably saw it on a video online. She's like, I don't know where I saw it, YouTube, YouPorn, I don't know, okay? Just said man eating himself, I checked it out, I don't know. So anyway, but remember, and this goes to please get out of your bubbles, right? So remember, another politician had an interesting story about cannibals. Let's show you.
And my uncle, they called him Ambrose, Brosey, they called him Bosey. My uncle Bosey was a hell of an athlete, they tell me when he was a kid. And he became an Army Air Corps before the Air Force came along. He flew those single-engine planes as reconnaissance over war zones. They got shot down in New Guinea, and they never found the body because there were a lot of cannibals for real in that part of New Guinea.
So Biden thought his uncle was eaten by cannibals. There were tons of Democrats after he said that, who said, no, he's perfectly fine. You just saw that video.
Did you see the people behind Biden? They're like, oh my God.
So, but we can't get rid of the lunatics. So Biden says my uncle was eaten by cannibals. Kristi Noem comes in and goes, oh yeah, we arrested a cannibal who was in the middle of eating himself. Why do they go to these insane stories?
I'm glad that we have Charlie Kirk protecting Western civilization from Mamdani eating rice with his hands.
Okay. This is what Western civilization has devolved to. Kind of eating each other, right?
I mean, in the fun way, maybe, but hopefully.
That's a whole nother thing. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.